Robert Downey Jr. might have played one of the world's best superheroes in Iron Man film franchise, but he wasn't always as put together in real life. Rather, the actor went through plenty of hardships, including jail time and drug addiction. But his wife, Susan Levin, is highly regarded as the person who became the miracle that saved her husband's life. In his teenage years, Robert showed an interest in acting and had no issues landing roles using his bad boy charm. Success didn't make him wait long, and in 1992, he was already nominated for the Oscar for Best Actor for his performance in Chaplin. Downey Jr. was only 27 years old at the time, and his professional life blossomed as his bad habits did as well. Fame and money got into Downey Jr.'s head and dragged him towards making a lot of bad decisions. When Downey Jr. first met his wife, he was coming off some difficult times. The Iron Man actor had been battling an addiction to drugs and alcohol and even spent some time in jail prior to settling down. He was blacklisted in Hollywood after suffering from drug addiction in the 1990s, and in 1996 he was convicted of possession and discharge of a firearm. He also missed several court-ordered drug tests, and he was sentenced to 3 years in prison in 1999. Then, during his parole in 2001, the Sherlock Holmes actor was found barefoot, wandering around the city of Culver, California. Then, he was arrested on suspicion of being under the influence. He was also fired from his role in the TV series Ally McBeal, as well as other films and theater projects. As a result, the MCU, the star went penniless, but instead of being sent back to prison, he was ordered to go to rehab. It wasn't until 2003 that Downey Jr. met the woman who changed his life. Levin was working on the production of Gothika, a movie in which Downey Jr. was starring. Susan Levin was a 29-year-old film producer when she met him, as a lifelong straight-A student who's made only good decisions in her life. Levin viewed the problematic actor as strange and didn't for a second think about anything romantic with him. They didn't have as much in common. She was far more straight-laced, having grown up an honor student who went on to attend the University of Southern California. Levin recalls that she didn't like Downey Jr. at first. She said, "The main thing I remember about meeting him was to think how weird it was." During that interview in 2009, the producer also said that she still found her husband to be quite weird, noting, "He's an amazing mix of contrasting qualities that's never boring. He's totally eccentric but ingrained. He's someone who's lived that way. So much of life, so far, has a Peter Pan quality that never gets old." When asked about her entry into the actor's turbulent life, Levin admitted that she didn't think she would end up with a movie star. "I honestly didn't know anyone with drug problems," she shared in the post, adding that she was very organized with fixed boundaries and had always been pretty much since the age of 12 that she would work in the film industry. "I've never been a girl who would consider marriage," she continued. "Being in a relationship has never been my priority." Levin added that she got to know the good side of her future husband before they became an official couple. "The man I met was not the person," she continued. "He was clean and sober. He was totally professional and he was working. She didn't even think twice when the actor proposed to her. More than anything, I never suspected it," she recalls. But it wasn't always perfect. Susan knew the good in Downey Jr. just as well as she knew his demons. Levin witnessed Robert slipping into old habits once and decided she wasn't going to let it happen again. Luckily for him, the choice was simple. He was willing to completely turn his life around for her, and she was right there to support him. It took the actor only 6 months of dating to propose to Susan. The couple got married in 2005 that same year and worked on Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Since then, their romance has turned into a fairy tale for the actor. She's been referred to as the miracle who saved her husband's life, because once the two of them got together, he vowed to remain sober. Today, Downey Jr. says he's been drug-free since 2003, and Levin, who's threatened to leave him if he returned to his old habits, is the reason. The thought of losing Levin was enough for Downey Jr. to remain sober. As for their private life, it couldn't be better either. For the first 7 years of their marriage, the lovebirds focused on getting RDJ's life back on track and just enjoying being with each other. But at one point, this wasn't enough, and they started a family. Robert and Susan welcomed their first son, Exton Elias, in 2012, and 2 years later, the family was complete after the birth of their baby girl, Avery Roel.